on to the virtual. It says trouble loading.
Yeah, I'm just about to load now. We should be.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, we are live on Facebook and we are recording. Welcome to the 2021 Thorsby Municipal Election Candidate Forum, hosted by the Thorsby and District Chamber of Commerce. My name is Amissa Jablonski and I will be your moderator for this evening. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered virtually today on Treaty 6 territory. First Nations and Métis peoples are incredible stewards of the land, and it is because of their sacrifice we are able to gather here today. I would encourage everyone to engage in difficult conversations of truth so that we can build a path towards reconciliation. For those of you who I have not yet met, I was born and raised in the Thorsby area. I am the fourth of 5 generations here, and my family has been involved in the community for a very long time. I currently work for the Chancellor and Senate of the University of Alberta and have completed my Bachelor of Science in Pharmacology, my Bachelor of Education in the elementary stream, and have nearly completed my Master's of Arts in Policy Studies. In the interest of full disclosure, I am not a taxpayer in Thorsby and cannot vote in this election. My immediate family in the area are county residents, but I do have an aunt and uncle who are voters in Thorsby. I'm honored to have been asked to moderate for you this evening. Given that we have 16 candidates and only 2 hours for this forum, we are going to have to move very quickly. We have allotted a minute to each candidate for an opening statement, which is to focus on who they are and why they are running. We also had questions submitted in advance. Thank you to the voters who gave us 25 questions to work with. Unfortunately, we will not have time to address every question, but have distilled them down to themes that were distributed to candidates earlier today. The candidates will each have 30 seconds to respond to each question. For questions directed at a specific race, say the mayoral race or the council race, or to an individual candidate, all candidates will have an opportunity to respond should they wish. The candidates will also be provided with a full unedited list of questions should voters wish to seek out additional responses. We will then wrap with a 1-minute closing statement from each candidate, focusing on why the citizens of Thorsby should vote for them. The candidates have been notified of these strict time limits in advance, and we will be muting their microphones should they exceed time by more than a few seconds. With that, let's get right to our opening statements. The speaking order was determined by an online randomizer. However, Ms. Musson had a prior commitment when invited to participate this evening, so we have offered to have her speak first. She has pre-recorded her closing statement to be shared later. I would encourage voters to reach out to hear her responses to the questions we address after we conclude this evening. Ms. Musson, as soon as I spotlight you, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Tracy Musson. I feel that I have qualities of what you would want your counselor to be. I'm responsible and reliable and ready to be the best advocate on your behalf. As your counselor, I would be your representative, a policymaker, and a steward of this town. I've experienced glimpses into many areas of our municipal happenings. I understand that being counselor is no small undertaking. Ultimately, my big picture for our town is that our community thrives. We need families to grow here and for younger generations to want to return here. I am prepared to cooperate in making practical strategies in which our town can progress successfully. Please do your civic duty by voting on Monday, October 18. The choice is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Musson. Our next speaker will be Mr. Kinswater.
Can you see me there? Okay. Hello, my name is Jason Kinswater. I grew up in the Thorsby area and graduated from Thorsby Junior Senior High School. I'm currently a full-time student at NAIT in the Business Administration and Entrepreneur program. I am married to my wonderful wife, Katie, for 16 years, and we have 2 boys, JJ and Jeffrey. We purchased our home back here in Thorsby 16 years ago to enjoy small town life and the excellent schools. I am also a disabled individual and believe that I can give a unique perspective to the Thorsby Council. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Mr. Nathan Raymond.
Good evening, everyone. You know me, Nathan. I'm 47, recently engaged. I have 2 amazing daughters who are both very involved in the community as well. I have a new son-in-law, 3-year-old granddaughter, 8-month-old grandson. I moved to Thorsby with my family in 2011. I immediately got involved in the community, volunteering on various boards and for various organizations. The trails had always been my favorite thing. I've been on town council for just over 5.5 years, winning my position in a by-election in 2015. This is my 4th time running for council because from the beginning, I felt I belonged. My previous council type position was as a board member and maintenance lead for a cooperative housing project in Fort Erie, Ontario, where I learned of financial constraints in a budget, infrastructure challenges, and the importance of community overall. I feel having some continuity in my passions and all that I've done in Thorsby is important, and that's why I'm running again. Thanks.
Thank you. Up next, we have Mr. Poffenroth. Oh, you'll need to unmute.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ken Poffenroth. I am a current council member. I grew up in Calgary, graduated from Queen Elizabeth High School in Calgary, took 4 years at SAIT. 4 years ago, I ran for council. And the reason for that was that taxes kept rising and I just couldn't agree with a lot of the decisions that previous councils had made. My belief is that there was a spending problem, and you will hear more of these numbers a little later. Hopefully they come up in questions. This mayor and council has accomplished a lot, even though we've had to contend with COVID. We have a lot further to go, so my job is not finished, and that is the reason I am rerunning. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Ms. Watson. Go ahead.
Now I can go?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Audrey Watson, and I'm running for the position of town councillor. My husband and I have lived in the Thorsby for 14 years. I was born and raised in the Glen Park area. Worked at the Stollery Pediatric OR for 26 years, where I learned to work with a multitude of people, managing budgets and the importance of teamwork, respecting other people's views. If any of these are to work, there must be a meaningful communication. I also worked at the Arctic Spa Rec Center for 12 years, where most of you know me from. I've watched your children come and go and grow up to become adults. Greeted everyone with a smile and a conversation so they would feel welcome in our town, and help them and listen to them if it was warranted. Customer service to you, the taxpayer, should always be top priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Ms. Shelley Rash.
I'm done.
Sorry, Shelley, give me a second here. I just had you. Where'd you go? Oh, I might have accidentally kicked Shelley out of the meeting. My apologies.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. I couldn't find you. Go ahead.
I'm good.
Yep.
You need to spotlight me?
I do, but I can't find you on my list, which is very bizarre. So if you start speaking, we should spotlight you, no problem.
Okay, I'm just going to stop and restart.
Sure.
And see if that makes any difference. Okay. Good evening, Thorsby. My name is Shelley Rash. I have lived and been an active resident in our community for over 20 years. I have 2 teenage boys, Matthew and Michael, that attend the local high school, and we were lucky enough to have my mom Sharon live here as well. She is an active senior in our community. My education is in business administration with my major in accounting. I am a numbers person that has always worked in finance and human resources. These are two areas that I feel our town could greatly benefit from. I am positive, hardworking, engaged, a team player, and a great communicator. Assets I know would be beneficial for this position. Due to COVID, I've been working from home for the past 19 months and have been around a lot more. I've been hearing and seeing things that have been disheartening for me. I would not have believed 19 months ago that I would ever have run for town council. I am not one to complain. I am the type that will still step up and do something. So here I am to work and fight for you, to be your voice on council. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Next up, we have Mr. Rod Raymond. And you'll just need to.
Yeah, I unmuted. I moved my business of 3 families to Thorsby in 2011. I do have over 35 years experience in managing and owning my own business. I am married to Sandy for 42 years. I got 2 sons, 4 granddaughters, 2 great-grandchildren. My brother and sister both live here as well. I chose to live here. I spent 25 years living in another province and I wanted to retire here. I do pay taxes on 4 properties, so tax load is important to me. But more importantly is the value of what I get for those tax dollars. I was first elected 4 years ago to deal with high taxes and high water rates. Being new to council, it took a year or so to understand the role, the responsibilities, and the underlying issues that were here. This council administration have worked over the last 4 years to reduce taxes by about 20%. So now we are competitive with our neighbors. Our capital reserves are quite a bit higher. 27 or 16 were $629,000. The town now is at $1.981 million in 2020. We've done about $2 million of infrastructure work in town, and AHS COVID restrictions still plague the rec center. So there is issues revolving the plant, but I haven't finished the job. That's why I'm running again. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Rempel.
Hi, I'm Carol Rempel, and I decided to run for mayor to encourage meaningful communication in a fair and transparent manner between the council and the residents, to listen to the concerns of the community, to value differences and create unity. Having a business background, owning Warburg Lumber, Cara Consulting, which is a bookkeeping company, and Apollo Concrete, besides taking economics at university, facilitating a communications workshop, chairing many committees, has given me the tools to be a sincere and positive leader for Thorsby. My knowledge of finances, budgets, and working with the public gives me the skills necessary for governance and the ability to chair the council meetings in an organized and timely manner. As a volunteer with FCSS, Christmas Elves, Capital Power, Leduc Foundations, and the Spirit of Thorsby fundraising committee gave me the opportunity to collaborate with passionate people. Teamwork is coming together, keeping together, and working together. That's success. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to Mr. Gilbert.
Did you need something, Alyssa?
No, we're just looking for Mr. Gilbert.
Oh,
I'm here.
There we go.
I'm Corey Gilbert. Aside from being on council for the past 4 years, I live with my wife Ashley and our children and operate a local business. Prior to my time on council, I have been a member of a number of different community groups and boards and have a degree in political science and history, as well as a certificate in globalization and governance from the University of Alberta. I'm running for re-election and continue the work that I started this past term. Many of my goals and priorities that I would have liked to have spent more time on were unfortunately delayed due to the pandemic and the realities and constraints imposed because of it. Thorsby is a town with a lot of great people and a lot of potential, but like many small towns have struggled in the past. If we're not prudent and realistic in the choices we make, Thorsby ultimately will end up like Wabnam or Hythe, both of which had little choice but dissolved back into Parkland and Grand Prairie counties respectively this year, as they were deemed no longer financially viable as independent municipalities. Thorsby was on that same trajectory not long ago. It is easy to say yes to everyone and keep allowing costs and taxes to spiral out of control, but I prefer that we make the necessary choice to ensure Thorsby is financially viable so it can remain independent and locally controlled. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Mr. Hostin.
All right, thanks, Anissa. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank our organizer of the Zoom broadcast. And secondly, I'd like to thank all the people that are zoomed in to it. My only regret is that the residents that are not able to view it for whatever reasons. My name is Daryl Hostin, and I'm a long-term resident and taxpayer in Thorsby. I am running for the position of mayor because I have concerns regarding the last 4 years. When I was approached by several residents and business owners, I decided I'd do something about it by running for mayor. Previously, I served as a councillor from 1996 to 2002. I was a previous owner and the manager of the Thorsby Hotel for 10 years. And prior to that, I was an accountant with PCL Construction for 12 years. After selling the hotel, I worked as the health, safety, and environment manager for Trinidad Drilling in Nisku for 19 years. I'm a third generation resident of Thorsby. My grandfather, John Heyer, was the first mayor in 1949. I believe my allotted time is up. And once again, I want to thank you, time, for viewing this broadcast.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Rafa.
Hi.
There you are.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. My name is Frank Rafa. I moved here back in 2013 to have a family, originally from Toronto. While in Toronto, I did have a recording studio, worked with a lot of people that way, learned to work individually and in collectively towards a similar goal. My background is in arts. So I did a fine arts program. I did a graphic arts program in Toronto as well. And then when I moved here, shortly before that, I did get my red seal in welding and fitting. The reason I'm here actually is because people have asked me to do some changes and things like that with various issues. So as far as myself, I think Thorsby has a wonderful potential. I can only hear stories, obviously, because I wasn't here 20 years ago, which is unfortunate. Coming from a big city to a small town, there's a lot of positive things. I think the potential is there in so many aspects from the school. And if you read my platform, basically it goes from transparency to openness, nonprofit groups, schools, of course. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Miller.
Hi, I'm John Miller. 30 years old. I've been a resident here in Thorsby since 2017. I have 4 beautiful children. A lot of my history and my work and previous experience I've had has been in the oil field. I've been away from them. I wanted to run for council for this town, not just to something I want to do better for myself. I want to be able to leave something for them, as I myself have been absent previous to a lot of the things. Now that I've been able to step home from with the COVID there, I lost my full-time job a few years. I'm now homeschooled them. I am now more involved in them. I want to be more involved in my community. I believe that I should be able to step up and be the voice that this town needs. I'm initiative. I can bring a lot of perspective to the future of Thorsby and where my goals and plans end up wanting to be. I'm not doing it for a paycheck or a title. I'm running because I want to be able to leave something for my kids and my grandchildren that they can grow on and expand on forward in the future of Thorsby. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we will have Ms. Halliday. Am I good? Oh, we've got an echo. We'll just have to make sure Audrey's got her audio muted and her sound muted.
Okay, I think we're good now.
Great, go ahead.
My name is Jillian Holiday. I have been with my husband for 13 years. We have 2 beautiful girls, Catherine that is 12, Caitlin that is 7. We have resided in Thorsby for the last 11 years. I'm running for council because I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines for not having the voice to be heard. I feel that council should be an open line of communications with all the residents, and I think my verbal and online skills would make a great candidate. I like to learn new things and take creative approaches and can't wait to work with all the residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Ms. Wershik.
Oh. Hi, my name is Barbara Warshik. I've lived in Thorsby since 1987. I've raised my children here. They've chosen to raise their children here. My husband was raised in the area, and so he spent his life here. I'm running because we, the residents of Thorsby, need to have our voices heard and be part of the solution to the chaos we live with within our community. We deserve the respect to speak and be heard without bullying, threats, and verbal abuse. Elected persons need to remember their decisions should be the reflection of all of us. Shared goals, open communication, and resolution for the prosperity of community. We need our business sector included in decision-making also, so we can all prosper and bring our property values up, for 1 point. At this point in time, we cannot sustain our debt load and change is needed. On Monday, please vote for a healthier, happier, united community.
Our next speaker is Mr. Foster. Just need to unmute you.
Unmute there.
There we go.
Oh, you can hear me now.
Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Ivor Foster, running for re-election to Thorsby Town Council. I don't think I need to fill you in on all the facts of my background. I think my experience with the council says enough. I'm proud of my role in the most dynamic and progressive council this town has had in recent memory. Much work has been done in managing an incredible debt load inherited from previous councils, as well as gaining efficiencies in budgeting, bylaws, regional collaboration, administration, infrastructure, remediation, and council transparency, to name a few. My key here would be, please vote for experience and vote for the people who really have done something for this town. Vote with your conscience, not your heart. And good luck to everybody.
Thank you. And finally, we have Mr. Barry Rash.
Oh, shit, Rash.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start off by thanking the Thorsby Chamber and its planning team, and to everyone that is attending the Candidates Forum tonight. My name is Barry Rash, and I'm running for the position of mayor. I'm 47 years old, and I have two sons, Matthew and Michael. I was born and raised in the Thorsby area and a resident of the Thorsby for over 25 years. I've served the residents of the community in the past from 2004 to 2017. I have a diploma in business and digital marketing management and extensive experience in warehouse management and logistics. I continue to be an active volunteer in my community and continue to push myself to learn every day. I've gained valuable experience as I worked with people to build healthy relationships. Sharing ideas and creating a team approach is where I have always excelled at. I try to always remain approachable and open-minded when addressing concerns. I look forward to answering your questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your opening statements. We've done a great job keeping with time, and we are even 1 minute ahead of schedule, so fantastic. We'll now move on to the question portion of this evening's event. A reminder that you all have 30 seconds to respond to each question in an order determined by an online randomizer. Should the question be directed at an individual or a different race, say if you are a mayoral candidate and it's a council question or vice versa, you will have the opportunity to respond by using the raise hand function found in your reactions menu. Let's get to our first question. Would you consider the Arctic Spas Recreation Complex and its programming a community service or a source of revenue for the town of Thorsby, and why? Our first speaker this evening will be Ms. Rempel. And you're just muted. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it is imperative to work closely with the experts in the Leduc County, user groups, volunteers, and residents to restore the Arctic Spa Recreational Center as the hub for not only sports, but for clubs, organizations, programming, and community events. A place for all ages to enjoy. It is important to have an operating agreement with all sponsors and investors. Communication, training, recreational knowledge, promoting, and marketing will be an asset for the recreational manager. It's important to see respect and cooperation restored in all user groups and community members. So it's not only a recreational center.
And that's time for Ms. Rempel. We'll move on to Ms. Watson.
Good evening. I figure the rec center is a valuable part of our community. A revenue source? No, we will never be that. Rec centers never are, but we can be a more viable source by different programs, by renting out our facilities and the user groups in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Rod Raymond.
The rec center is more than just a recreational complex. It's actually the social hub of the community. We've struggled very through a difficult time through COVID, which has created some problems. And I apologize, I didn't have anything written down because I didn't know the questions before they were asked. It is the most important part of the community. There is a plan in place that we started. We do have a new rec manager, so things will move on better for everybody in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gilbert, it's your turn to answer this question.
Yeah, hi. So as was alluded to earlier, a major funding partner in the rec center is Leduc County. They are generous and amicable in their support for the facility, but they have often raised issues as to the lack of revenues. So while program costs have increased from $43,000 to over $80,000 at the rec center, revenues have dropped from $34,000 to $19,000. So we're getting half the revenue and or usage as it relates to revenue for double the investment. And our funding partner has been concerned about that. And I frankly don't blame them. As a county resident, I would be very concerned about contributing to that as well.
Ms. Wershik, you're up next.
Hi. We need our complex open. We need it utilized. We need our teams to feel like they're part of the community and not be ostracized by members of the community. And we don't need to charge outrageous prices. The less we charge, the more people that can afford to be there. So more money in the long run. We need our community center open for all of us. Thank you.
Next up, we have Ms. Halliday.
We need our community center opened. It's for our children. That's where they go to interact with each other after school. They don't have to, they can go bowling, they can go and do anything, but they can sit there and do crafts together as a unit. I think the rec center is the heart of this community. Thank you.
Mr. Poffenroth? Oh, you're muted, Ken. Oh, it's still muted on you.
There, how's that?
There we go.
There we go, bingo. Yes, the rec center is very important to us, right from the young kids all the way up through the seniors. This council has tried and been tripped several times by the COVID restrictions. However, we've brought in a new skate park, or at least the equipment for a new skate park. We've had the racquetball court or the basketball court resurfaced. We are pushing ahead, and we do want the rec center open. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hostin.
Thank you. The rec center is a great heritage site for Thorsby. It was built by the people in Thorsby through the Ag Society. A lot of that, there's some sacrifices there. It was turned over to the town to be used. And at one time, that place was right to the rafters. So we need to keep it open. We need to get something back in there. I can remember back when it first started in '88, there was 8 hockey teams for men's teams. Now I don't think there's any. So that is a sign of the times, but we need to get it open and we need to utilize it. Thank you.
Mr. Miller?
Okay. Yes, the rec center is valuable. No, it's not profitable, but the smaller towns that have these rec centers take the hit on that. It's what they do with it that creates the value, the worth of it to have, and us to take as a negative deficit when it comes to that. It's not meant to build us mass revenue. It's meant to be a small local hub for the communities to gather, to be a part, to grow, and to expand with the youth and the programs available. It should be open. There should be programs for all ages going on, whether it's winter or summer related. COVID was a...
Thank you. And I appreciate you all adhering to the time as well. Mr. Nathan Raymond, your turn.
Well, we all know where I stand. I've always been wanting to achieve new ideas and new things for the rec center, as far as the skate park, new youth programming, the HD sports simulator to attract new and interesting ideas, and also inclusiveness, especially for those with disabilities. I know just recently that's one of what has been kind of our focus is the inclusiveness. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Foster.
Inclusivity.
Oh, I just want to respond quickly by saying that I agree with just about everything that's been said about the rec center. But I'd like you to know that we have hired a manager, personable, experienced, and when we have him in his office in the rec center, which I think is going to be very soon, he should be there to welcome your comments and welcome your questions and proceed from there. And that's the only way we're going to get something going. And we have to keep that open all day. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Miss Shelley Rash.
Hi. One of the reasons I decided to run for council was the rec center. I truly feel that the rec center is the heart of our community. It is a service for our residents in the surrounding area and for our health and wellness, not a source of revenue. It runs out of a deficit, as others have said, and it's shared with the county, the cost of that. Moving forward, I think it's important to work on selling, promoting, booking our recreation center, getting that ice time filled up, getting programming running, getting it used as much as possible like it used to be back in the day.
Time. Thank you. Mr. Rafa.
Okay, hi, thank you. I agree with just about everything that was said so far. Definitely a valuable part of our community as far as revenue goes. I think it can happen. I think for now it'll take some time. I have some ideas of booking it in other ways, concerts, venues, other activities, things like that. And I think it can happen. I think collectively there's enough experience, there's enough knowledge between whoever the council will be that we can make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kinswater.
Oh, am I going now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I think the rec center can be run like a business. It doesn't always have to be in the black. It doesn't have to be making a fortune. It can be fiscally run properly, and it doesn't have to run in the red. We are underutilizing our complex. We haven't outreach to other communities, and there's a serious lack of communication with our own community. That being said, we are in an opportunity to utilize this with other communities. We are the only rec center within this area. Warburg, Kalmar do not have a rec center. We have an opportunity to do annual events with them. Thank you.
And Mr. Barry Rash, and I promise I did randomize these. It's just the luck of the draw on this one. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Our rec center for sure is regional in nature, I would say. Should not be run like a business. The loss of programming and events has really done significant damage to our community and its health. I do believe that if we really bear down and get to the bottom of how we can run it, we can definitely make some positive changes. We got to remember not all dollars can be measured in what it costs to run the rec center, because there is a stimulus if people are coming into the community for businesses that come in. So
thank you. So that's the end of our first question. Everybody's got a feel for this now, so we'll move right along into question number 2. Residents and community members have expressed increasing frustration with poor communication with, accessing information from, and their treatment by the town office and administration. How do you address these abundant concerns? And just to prove that this is randomized, Mr. Barry Rash, you are first this time. And go ahead.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, there are significant problems that have been brought up continuously with communication. It was unfortunate that current council couldn't pivot quickly to have this resolved. I think it's just a matter of having full disclosure of what's going on and actually communicate in a respectful and responsible manner to the town. These things are simple. We're not talking about building the Taj Mahal here. We're talking about simple communication that the community deserves to be told about continuously.
And time. Thank you. Our next speaker will be Ms. Halliday.
Am I unmuted? Yeah. I feel that the communication needs to be, everybody needs to know what's going on. Communication is key, no matter what. Everything should be out in the open. It should be either on our websites or in Facebook, but communication is key. It's the main objective.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Mr. Poffenroth.
There, I got this unmute thing down pat, eh? How's that? First of all, I'd like to say that through communications, we have gone through a lot of new employees. We've got a new CAO, and she has had to train a lot of new people. So, when you get a group of new people, which just about everyone there is new within the last 8 months and less, they need some training, and it takes a while to get it up there. Yes, we do need to get the communication to the public out. And sorry for that if there wasn't any communication problems, but
and time.
That's where we're at.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert.
I find this a contentious point of mine. Our meetings are open. We have implemented Zoom access to our public meetings. We do publish anything, meetings, meeting minutes, or financials on the website, and nobody ever has a problem getting a hold of me when their furnace is broken. They only seem to have a problem getting a hold of me when they want to complain about our CAO. I feel she has done a reasonable job getting back to people. I have never had a problem getting back to her, and if other people have had a problem, no one has expressed it to me personally, which they have my number, they have my email, and it's accessible.
Ms. Wershik?
Right here. Hello?
Go ahead.
Hi. Town administration is hired by the council. They get their orders from the council and then go ahead and do their job. So if somebody's being stifled and not putting information out to us, it falls back onto the council's shoulders, is how I feel about that. We don't need all the people we have working there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hostin.
Yeah, I realize that the pandemic has thrown a monkey wrench into a lot of things, but we need that office open all day long, from 12 to 1. We need the people answering the phones, not leaving messages. I realize they get back to them, but that office needs to remain open. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Miller.
Yeah, like stated, I believe the office should be open for the hours of operation. If they have to shift change and move around someone's lunch break, there's no reason why someone shouldn't be there, especially when some people in town only have that lunch break to be able to come there and talk to someone. I believe that the documents, when someone asks for something, should not be just directed towards the webpage. They should be able to be helped right there and then. Some people don't have access to internet. There should also be, if there's a steady question, the office should be able to put up in front there the documents that have been requested. So that way it's not an issue or hindering on time with them.
Time, thank you. Mr. Rod Raymonds.
You know, it's funny. When I was first elected in 2017, the first article I did in the Target was to improve communication. It seems to be an ongoing thread, no matter what council's in. So we used to do 2 public meetings every year that hardly anybody ever attended. Yes, all that information is online. Yes, the CEO does get information out. Yeah, I guess they do close the office between noon and 1, which has been like that since I moved here. So to me, it is disappointing. It's an ongoing thing that people use when they want to get elected or re-elected. The problem is the reality really isn't there all the time.
And time, thank you. Mr. Nathan Raymonds.
Yeah, I've heard this time and time again. I think that's why even when I was on council with the previous council, we started going to, brought the world, our council in the 21st century. And it's fortunate now we can all use Zoom. I answer questions periodically on Facebook, through Messenger. People call me, people come to my office. So I've always been available to answer questions. I think we did what we could with what we had.
Thank you. Ms. Watson.
Yes, communication, strong point. One of the biggest things I find is we cannot communicate with our CEO. To be there at 8:30 in the morning, people out and answer people's questions or emails. We need to address this. Communication for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rafa.
Hi there. Thank you. I would agree with a lot of it. Communication is key for a lot of things. Knowledge to the public, to the individuals does help in getting more heads into the same pot, suggestions, ideas, and things like that. Being hard to get through, I've heard the same stories where people can't get through or there's no response from the CAO, and I think that does need to be addressed. That would have to be done internally to see what's actually going on. Yeah, we don't need 3 people doing one person's job. I think that's what's going on there. There's just too many things going wrong. Needs to be fixed. Thank you.
Ms. Rempel?
You there?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So the mayor and the council is as good as the administration, and the administration is as good as the mayor and council. So I think with the CAO/CFO, she is not also the manager for public works. She should not be the manager for public works, FCSS, bylaw officer, economic development officer, business development and communications officer. It's too much of a load for one person. She should trust her employees so they could do their job without micromanaging. Listen to the community and respond to all phone calls and emails promptly in a timely manner.
Mr. Foster?
I agree with some of the things that are being said, but first of all, let me say, that we have transparency right from the day one. We encourage people to sit in the gallery and engage with the council, and that's always been true. Yes, we have some problems with some other things, but one of the things I won't take umbrage with is people who want to pick. If you're going to talk to our CAO, please engage politely. None of this and in your face kind of things that cause all these other problems. Okay, we have
Time.
okay.
Thank you. Ms. Shelley Rash.
As I was door knocking, this issue came up multiple times with people saying there's poor communication. They don't get answers from the office, lack of response. Myself, I have gone in there and my number has been taken multiple times saying someone will get back to me, and no one ever did get back to me. And since Ken brought this up, I do have concerns with the staff turnover and the inexperience in that office. Why has that happened? What happened to all the good staff that we had? We need to work towards opening up the communication and figure out the best way to move forward with our inexperienced staff.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mr. Kinswater.
Hello. I believe that this is one of the biggest challenges facing the next Thorsby Council. Building a new relationship with the community is going to be very difficult. When people visit our town office, they should feel happy that our town is being honest, respectful, and answering your questions or concerns in a timely manner. I also feel that the new council will have a long hill to gain mutual respect from its citizens. Open communication via mail, email, and social media can give taxpayers clearly the goals of what the council attends.
Thank you. We did have a follow-up for this question that fit with this question, and it was specifically for Mr. Rod Raymond. Is there truth to the rumor that the town of Thorsby missed out on a major housing development opportunity related to the coal transition grant after the consultants were fired by administration?
Well, first thing, consultants were never fired. There was a coal transition grant. We did have two different developers come in. The problem is that the offsite levies that are required to actually feed the subdivision would have bankrupted them. That's why they didn't. So that's all false and just misinformation. So I'm not sure who asked the question, but it's bull hooey.
Thank you. And we have an opportunity, as this question was directed at Mr. Raymond, for anyone to answer the question. And I see that Mr. Gilbert has raised his hand, so we'll give him an opportunity to have 30 seconds as well.
I am very unclear as to the intent of the question, given the simple fact that unrelated to anything to do with our coal transition grant money, which was obtained by previous council and we are beneficial for it, there was no such development opportunity. There was a developer who had inquired as to potential opportunities in Thorsby, who quickly moved on to other opportunities. It had nothing to do with anything that is insinuated in this question, and whoever asked it is probably breaching confidentiality and is also lacking in a lot of information.
Thank you. Would anyone else like an opportunity to answer that question? And just so that everyone is clear, these questions were submitted anonymously through a form online, and the candidates will be provided with the unedited questions at the end. I see that Ken is looking to respond as well.
Yes, I'd like to respond. A lot of these questions and a lot of information is so erroneous that goes around. So there's so much stuff that has been picked up off of whether it's Facebook or where the rumors come from. I have no idea, but so much of it is absolutely incredibly wrong. I can't say enough that there's a certain small number of probably residents that are disheartened. Some of them could be from the county, but they're being very unfair to throw these questions out when there's no substance behind them.
Time. And last call for anyone that would like to ask a question or respond to this question. Great, so we'll move on to question number 3. This question is for all candidates. What policies would you bring in to help support and attract business development to Thorsby? Our first speaker for this question is Ms. Halliday. You just need to unmute.
Unmute.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. To bring in small businesses, we need more attractions here. So incentives to come here. To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure. We just need different opportunities here for different businesses instead of liquor stores and things like that. Like we need clothing stores. We just need other businesses.
Thank you. Mr. Austin.
Thank you. We need to have some tax incentives, possibly the first couple of years, maybe even some cheap land. When Arctic Spas came to Thorsby and approached us, I was on council at that time, and we worked with them and we brought the Arctic Spas and look at them today. So if we can do something along that line, we could attract some new businesses.
Thank you. Ms. Watson.
Well,
Go ahead.
okay. I agree with Daryl. Arctic Spas is a fantastic community or business in town. I would love to attract something like that, but in our economy, it's hard. Small businesses, maybe giving households that are working from home a tax break. Maybe we could encourage more people to move here that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wershik.
Hi, we need more businesses in town. We need some kind of platform where someone wanting to start a business has an open communication with village office and a policy or something in place that we will go out of our way to help them establish a business and support them. The community as a whole needs to support small business, whether it's making jam or running a gas station, a clothing store. We need the support of the community and make small business feel welcome here.
Time, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gilbert.
So I have a fairly long-winded response to this on my Facebook page if anyone's interested, but at the end of the day, I'd love for a Tim Hortons to spring up tomorrow just as much as the rest of you. However, that's not the case. We do not have the population to sustain most small businesses. If we wish to attract more businesses, we need a larger trading area. The only way to increase our trading area is to increase the population. In order to do so, we need to encourage more residents. That being said, we have decreased non-residential mill rates to 19.4, which is the lowest it's been this century. As far as council goes, as not a developer, it does not start or found businesses.
Time. Thank you. Mr. Miller.
I believe that we do need more business here in Thorsby, because without the business, there'll be no owners, taxpayers, no revenue, and there'll be no, we'll see, just be a small town forever. I definitely believe that if we don't get, I don't know if there is tax incentives or not in place, but something like that to encourage people to want to build a business and bring tourists here, so that way the population can grow and the businesses can grow and small people can start up small business. There's no real end game. But just saying that we need more business. We need a lot of things that needs to come to town, and definitely attractions is one of them.
And time, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Rafa.
Thank you. I agree. We do need to encourage business or attract more businesses, as well as retain the businesses that we do have. And there are some ideas out there that we could potentially do that. I think it would start along Main Street. Nobody wants to come into a building that's half dilapidated, right? So I think that's part of the infrastructure revamping, I guess you could call it. But I would agree, yeah, businesses need to be held in town and respected as such, and as well attract new businesses with incentives. I think is a good start. Absolutely. Thank you.
Ms. Shelley Rash.
Hi, in regard to policy, the one thing I could think of would be, as Daryl said, tax incentives for businesses to come into town, like we do for new builds in our town for housing. One big thing that I know that's been happening in our town, and I've heard from multiple business owners, is that there has been poor communication with the administration, and there has been lack of respect towards them. So I think that's very important for the new council to step up and start opening up those communication lines with the businesses and let them know that they're wanted, needed, and then work towards getting more of them in.
Thank you. Mr. Foster.
Hi, I have to continue what Corey was talking about earlier on. This pie in the sky thinking that, oh, well, we're going to have all kinds of business on Main Street, but it depends on one thing. It's revitalization of Hankin Street. And the only way you're going to do that is to attract developers that are going to put buildings up or developments that will contribute to people to move in. Remember that we get people moved in, the population increases, more money, more taxpayers, more business, done.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Ms. Rempel.
Hi, I also said business incentives will help to attract new businesses. And I had mentioned maybe a break on taxes, Wi-Fi, utilities, the first year just to get them in. And then also by shopping local, the current businesses are more apt to stay afloat, and lower the cost for business licenses for the home-based businesses, so they too can add some taxes to our revenue. Thank you.
$25.
Mr. Rod Raymond is our next speaker.
The first meeting I went to as mayor was a conference in Edmonton where it was realtors and developers. And I got taken to task about the high taxes. We had the highest commercial taxes for municipalities our size in the province. So we did work very hard to get the tax load down to make it more attractive. There's been tax incentives. The previous council, two terms ago, put in tax incentives for these people. We can have all of the great ideas in the world, but the reality is until we fix the foundation of why we don't have other businesses come to town, they'll never come to town. So these things still have to be done. The water plant still needs to be dealt with. Everything needs to be dealt with.
Next up, we have Mr. Barry Rash.
Hi, everyone. We got to remember we're in an extremely competitive region. We're competing with Edmonton. We're competing with the city of Leduc. So what can we do? Well, we have to start charming the pants off developers. We have to know our stuff in the office when they come knocking. I have heard from a few businesses when they go to the office, they're not exactly getting the numbers or the questions that they have brought forward answered. So we just have to do a better job at pushing that agenda and going after developers, trying to find opportunity where it exists. It's hard, but we got to do what we can.
Mr. Poffenroth.
Yes, having started and run several small businesses and a couple of large ones, I've got some information on this. First of all, a business owner looks at his expenses, and that means taxes, water rates, etc. And in order to bring people in, those taxes have to come down, and that's what this council has been working on. The last 2 years, residential taxes down and some of the commercial taxes down. If we get the taxes down, you will have people move here. You will have people putting businesses in here.
Thank you very much. And our next speaker is Mr. Kinswater.
Am I on
Sorry
now?
about that. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, no worries. I think that's going to be an extremely big challenge right now, especially when we're facing a pandemic. That's one thing that we all have to realize we have to get through first. But if you want to attract businesses, first thing I learned in business school is location, location, location. Well, when your location looks like a third world country when you drive down Main Street for most of the time, it's hard to attract any new businesses that want to do business when it looks like a golf course on Hankin Street. Yes, you did fix it, but did you fix it well?
And
I don't know.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Nathan Raymond.
This has been a question the whole time that I've been on council, and just before the pandemic, we were involved with Central Alberta Economic Professionals, and we were looking at investment and attraction matrices, etc. And people do take advantage of our incentives, and we do have some business expansion going on in town as we speak.
Thank you. Our next question is directed at Ken Poffenroth. Criticism has been raised around your spending of up to 6 months at your vacation home in the United States at the expense of Thorsby taxpayers. How do you address these concerns, and are you continuing this practice in the future?
Glad that question come up because I've talked to some people about that. First of all, when I was down in the US, I was able to communicate. I never missed any of the town council meetings. I did it electronically, and I took 25% off my honorarium because I was away, and yet I incurred extra expenses being down there. To answer your question, no, we want to sell the property down there. This trying to get across the border with COVID on is retarded. Prices are good down there now, and healthcare prices have gone up, so we're going to sell it.
And time. I see Mr. Gilbert has raised his hand, so he will be allowed an opportunity to respond.
I, along with Councillor Foster, have been vocally opposed to Councillor Poffenroth spending significant amounts of time in Arizona throughout the year. That being said, I cannot truly say that it has impacted either his attendance or his ability to perform on council. He has attended all council meetings while he's gone electronically, and he has been probably during the 6 months in town he's available while he was in Arizona, has been at least equally as engaged as I am all year, given that I'm still working and have a family to raise, whereas he's retired and doesn't have those commitments.
Thank you. Mr. Rod Raymond has wished to weigh in.
Yes, Ken is actually a very good counselor. Yeah, he did spend 6 months of the year down in Yuma. He did attend all his meetings. He's there. He's around the community all the time. He has made a commitment that he is going to sell his property. Ken has been a very important part of this council, and I do appreciate everything's done. And it is within the municipal act. He can attend meetings digitally, and we are digital now.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley Rash.
My question to Ken is, do you have a time frame on that? And are you planning on going down south this winter?
Unfortunately, because this is a forum.
Oh, okay. So I just want to bring that up. We don't have a time frame on that. So we don't know when or if he'll be going down south. I just think it's important for us to be around all year round, be engaged, and to not only attend our meetings, be in the community, know what's going on, be available to our residents when needed, come to face-to-face meetings when needed. 6 months away, you're not able to do that.
And time, Mr. Kinswater.
No worries, Amissa. I would just like to say that I think that people feel that if someone is away for that allotted time, they don't know what's actually going on in their community. They're away for that amount of time, and they're not engaging the people or what's going on in town that time. They're only speaking to their group of people that they interact with socially or social media wise. And that's people's concern. It's not the fact that you have a vacation home. It's the fact that you're not being active the entire time you're on council. People want a commitment to the town.
And time, thank you. We have an opportunity. If anyone else would like to speak, simply raise your hand. If not, we will move on to our next question. It is for all candidates. The water treatment plant has never lived up to its full potential. How do you plan on capitalizing on this multi-million-dollar facility without Thorsby taxpayers bearing the burden through taxes and high water rates? Our first speaker will be Mr. Barry Rash.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, about the water plant. The challenge that we have currently right now with the water plant is the fact that there needs to be more work done, and the work done needs to be focused around the bulk water filling station part of it. A lot of the users currently don't appreciate having to take loonies and toonies to fill up. A lot of the water trucks that have used it from time to time don't enjoy waiting 45 minutes to fill up. So I think we can make some immediate changes with regards to filling up time lengths and paying. I think we can get around it.
Thank you, Mr. Hostin. Oh, you're muted there, Mr. Hostin.
Sorry about that. I agree with Barry. The bulk water needs to be, used a little bit better there. Second thing is that we used to have some water contract with some oil companies. There's still some oil companies around here, and I know they're getting their water somewhere. So we need to get after those people, and even if we have to do it at a reduced rate, we need to talk to them, and we also need to talk to some of the neighboring municipalities. I know they have their own water, but we have to do more.
Thank you, Mr. Rafa.
Thank you. No, I would agree. I don't know too much about the water plant. I have heard that it is underutilized, oversized for this community, and I have heard talk about selling the water to other communities, and I think that would be in talks would be a good place to start. See what other communities need as far as their water requirements, and see if we can fulfill those needs. And like Daryl said, at a reduced rate would be a good incentive for them to choose us for business and utilize that facility.
Thank you. Mr. Nathan Raymond.
I always had plenty of ideas with this, and we've had plenty of meetings with companies like ATCO and EPCOR, et cetera, trying to figure out some sort of strategy. I had a really funny one, but I think we should talk to Mr. Trudeau and use the rail service and put water on in rail cars and get it to the Indigenous communities. That's just one idea.
Thank you. Ms. Shelley Rash.
I don't know the technicalities around the water treatment plant and how we would do the things that we may need to do. I do agree that bulk water station improvements need to happen as soon as possible. And I'm also interested in selling our water to other communities or municipalities, as has been discussed. I've heard that we do have a golden goose egg kind of thing with our license, and we have a lot of availability and opportunity to use it to our advantage and try to make some money on our water treatment plant. So that should be looked at in the future.
That's time. Ms. Rempel.
And I've been agreeing with most people that have talked about it. By utilizing our capacity in marketing the bulk water will bring revenue to Thorsby using a strategic plan, of course, and modifications to our existing bulk station, reducing water costs consistent with our neighboring communities will attract more users, thus bringing additional revenue. So communication and marketing is imperative.
Thank you, Mr. Rod Raymond.
Well, I probably had an advantage because we've been working on this for 3 years. So it's not just a water plant, it's the intake station, it's the surface, the pipeline, the booster station, the raw water ponds, the water treatment plant, south reservoir, and all the infrastructure underground. That has to be bundled together so we actually have a coherent plan in place, and it should be put into a corporation where we can attract investment. There is nobody that wants to pay $6 a cubic meter for water. The original plan for the water treatment plant did have a bulk station and it wasn't done. We know that the county of Leduc has a bulk water station, and we've been in talks with them, but there's no place to put it yet.
Thank you. Ms. Watson.
I agree with what all the councillors said. We were here when that water treatment plant was being built. I always thought it was going to be a white elephant, and it is. I don't know what we're going to do, future government studies, future everything, but I do know it has to be looked after. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Miller.
Well, what's really left to say? Everyone seems to have the same opinion about the water treatment, that we're not utilizing it properly, that there is improvements that need to be made on it, and that we should be reaching out to the surrounding communities for business partnerships with our water. But if we don't use it to its full capacity, it's gonna not live as long as it should be. It'll be over chemicalized and not treated properly. Definitely the usage of it does need to increase for the capacity that we're rated for the size of town we have. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Poffenroth.
Yes, we have a plan that we're working on with council. It would take a lot longer than 30 seconds to put you through it. But the bulk water at $6 a cube is twice as much as it sells in the areas around us. So we're not going to get bulk water sales. Yes, you're right. The hose diameter and output is too small, so it needs to be increased. That was money, but you can't put the money in if they're not going to buy the water. And it would be a disservice to taxpayer to sell water to bulk water people at less than what we pay for the taxpayers. So we have a plan and we are working on it.
Thank you. Mr. Kinswater.
Hello. I was here when they built the plant, so I know it's been a sore spot on everybody for a long time. From what I've heard and read, I think it's running at about 15% capacity, which is really bad. It needs to be utilized, and there needs to be a business plan put in place. And if there is one, it needs to be communicated better with the community. Almost everybody in this town, a lot of people in this town have a hot tub that can be filled up, and they're getting their water from somewhere else. There's also a plant here called Arctic Spa that they're filling and testing their tubs with. Where are they getting their water from? Are they getting a discount? Are we utilizing that to help out our business? Thank you.
Mr. Foster.
I don't really have too much to add to what's been said already, except that maybe what we need to do, and I think our mayor is cognizant of this, is we have to follow the example of EPCOR. We're not going to be marketing water down in Ontario, but it is feasible, and we have to think about the whole infrastructure from the water on the river to what happens to it when it comes out here. And if something happens, people, it's going to cost a lot of money. So maybe we need to do corporation, and let's get some partners available, get them in, and let's work. It's going to take a while.
Thank you. Ms. Halliday.
I have to agree with everybody that has already spoken. The water treatment plant needs to be put out more. We need to get other communities to come in to use the bulk of the water, or we need to build something that takes the water out and brings it back in. Like something needs to be done. It's absolutely ridiculous how much we pay. We moved here, we paid $63. Now we're what, 200? There's something that needs to be done.
And that's time, Mr. Gilbert.
Okay, so I agree when Barry says more work needs to be done. He's entirely correct, but it should have been done 15 years ago, not after the plant was built and 10 years later when we're looking at $6 a cube water rates. As Jason alludes to, we do need a business plan. Again, it should have been done a decade ago, not now. All the current incumbents have alluded to there is a plan in place. Some things in council are confidential. They are in camera and cannot be discussed publicly due to private business interests. That being said, I assure you there has been more time discussed on water than any other subject in my time on council.
And time.
Pipelines or any other thing, there is no money available.
Thank you. And last but not least, Ms. Worship.
Hi, One of my biggest concerns and peeves is there are homes in Thorsby that still doesn't have the great water from the new water treatment plant because we don't have the water and sewer infrastructure. Our infrastructure in our corner of town is probably 70 to 80 years old. And that should take precedence over selling our fresh water to other people. Shouldn't we, the people in town, have fresh water? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is a question that's specifically for Mr. Rod Raymond. Why did Thorsby leave the 3920 Alliance? Are there plans to rejoin? And how is intermunicipal collaboration addressed without being a member of this alliance?
That's gonna take more than 30 seconds. Two things, it didn't meet our financial requirements for transparency. Second of all, we would go back to 3920, they didn't charge us a fee. Thirdly, we actually are in collaboration with a much larger regional group, which is actually far more beneficial to us. If the 3920, it's good to work with your neighbors, but they shouldn't be charging us a fee and they should be transparent to where that fees are going. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any of the other candidates like to respond to this question? I see Mr. Gilbert.
Yeah, I just want to kind of clarify and ready.
Oh, sorry, Corey, I accidentally muted you. That was my fault.
There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, I was trying to spotlight you. Go ahead.
It's perfect. So I just want to reiterate a bit of what Rod said in a bit clearer fashion. There has been a legacy of handshake deals and less than transparent dealings in the business of the town of Thorsby. We have tried to ensure a fair and transparent accounting for any tax dollars that are spent. And as part of such, we need fair and transparent accounting from any organization we deal with, whether it be 3920 or any other group. That is part of the point of contention.
Thank you, Mr. Poffenroth.
Yes, I'd like to throw my 10 cents worth in because I was one of the on the committee to 3920, Mayor Rod and myself. That 3920 costs $5,000 to $6,000 a year to join. There was a number of years that it's been running and they really haven't accomplished much. That was our finding. The only thing that got really was a garbage contract. And guess what? Our CAO found a garbage contract here in town for $5,000 less. We didn't want to collect honorariums for going there and mileage and everything. It wasn't worth it.
Thank you. Would any of the other candidates like to respond to this question? Great. So we'll move on to our next question. It is for all candidates. The work for development of Taylor Park has revealed underground tanks on town property. Many community members had previously indicated that this was a potential problem. What do you feel the plan for the entire site should be, and how would your plan impact Thorsby taxpayers in the long term? Our first speaker is Mr. Miller.
Obviously, this is a touching subject as it was given land as a gift. The responsibility of it is that instead of blaming people who have done their issues with it, we have to look at making a solution forward. We have to eat the cost of it, unfortunately, through the town. But this way we can make sure it's done properly moving forward, as well as we're not stuck with trying to pin it on someone. We have to take that bullet and just improve it, get it done with, and move on and enjoy it for what it is.
That's time. Thank you. Ms. Wershik.
I don't have a solution for that. They went ahead so fast with it. 2 years. Wasn't even 2 years and this come into play. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a for sale sign on that lot beforehand. What happened to the for sale sign? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Mr. Rafa.
There you go. Thank you very much. Taylor Park, yeah, that's a bit of a contentious issue for sure. Long-term plan, I think it could have been utilized for a farmer's market. I would have put the farmer's market kind of idea closer to the railway where there's more land, but it could be used and potentially even rented out for certain occasions. And ideas like for some activities, for kids activities, for example, could have been used in that park. Grants would be one approach for the tank issue. And I think that there are grants available to help with the environmental aspect of it.
Time.
Thank you.
Mr. Hostin.
Yes, I've known Bob Taylor for over 45 years, and I know that that was very generous of him to do it. I don't know all the details on it, but I believe that, that some environment studies should have done ahead of time. There are other tanks in Thorsby that I know of that are still out there, and there are also some soils that are contaminated that need to be looked at. So this is something that the council should be looking at.
Thank you, Ms. Rempel.
Yes, right now it is a huge environmental issue and the new council must deal with it. There are grants and there's ways to solve the issue, but I think it'll take time and perhaps a lot of money too.
Thank you. Mr. Nathan Raymond.
Yeah, actually, the tank had nothing to do with Taylor Park. It had to do with our sidewalk remediation program this year, and it was discovered while we were fixing the sidewalk. Yes, it's being fixed as of this coming week, and it should be okay going into phase 4. It's just about soil remediation and watching it just like the other ones in town.
Thank you. Mr. Kinswater.
I agree with John. Unfortunately, it's something that it is what it is. And I've been watching the council meetings, so I do know that the current council has made steps to have this problem solved, and the next council will have to move forward to try to figure out how we're going to utilize Taylor Park better and try to make up some of those funds that we've lost, whether it be a farmer's market or concerts or whatnot. This community has some great ideas on how we can utilize this park. Why don't we ask them how they feel about it?
Thank you, Ms. Halliday.
I agree with everybody that's already spoken about this. The Taylor Park is beautiful with it starting. I think it would be awesome for kids to go and run around in, or even have birthday parties or anything like that. But to have the green space on Hankin Street is it's amazing. It's nice.
Thank you. Mr. Poffenroth.
Yes, let's reiterate a couple of things. First of all, the tank was under the sidewalk, not on the park. It was under the sidewalk, and it was found when we were trying to repair the sidewalk. The grants are gone that used to be out there to take care of those heritage tanks. Anyway, they ended in 2005. That should have been taken care of by whatever previous council it was that put the sidewalk over top of the tank. Now, we did have an open house. You probably remember. It was over a year ago. Just COVID is throwing things off.
That's time. Thank you. Mr. Foster.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I agree with Ken and Nathan that it's a different problem. The park itself, I thought from the get-go that it was a great idea to do, and I believe the finished product will still reflect the original group's concept of what it should look like. There are some problems that have to be taken care of. We asked for public input, and we didn't get any. So it's a question of let's wait and see whether we have to do some more remedial work in the park for
That's time. Thank you. Ms. Watson.
Taylor Park, wonderful idea. Just as a park, it would be ideal to have a little park with benches and walking through it. The issues of the tanks, yes, unfortunately. I was raised in this area, and then I was even surprised that the tank was under the sidewalk. I guess this council and next council will have to deal with the problem and move on.
Thank you. Mr. Barry Rash.
Yeah, Taylor Park, I believe that park is going to serve the community well for a long time. And I think the people that are working on it, kudos to them. With regards to the tank and the surprise, I was on council for 13 years, and in my time, it wasn't unusual to find surprises. It's unfortunate that this council found a surprise under the ground, and so now we have to deal with it. Let's not start tearing each other's head off and work together and try to get it resolved and get back on track. That's all I can suggest.
And that's time. Our next speaker will be Mr. Rod Raymond.
Yeah, there was a motion made on July 23rd, 2019. It's in the minutes. Taylor Park was supposed to be a quiet, tranquil, open, green space. The person that gave us all the problems was at that meeting. It's on budget. The tank is under the sidewalk. Has nothing to do with Taylor Park. Taylor Park will be what it was intended to be: a quiet, green space on Hankin Street going forward, just like the one they have in Kalmar. It should have been done last year, then we wouldn't be having this conversation this year. The money that was raised in 2019 was finally given to council on the 3rd of September this year. So the problem with Taylor Park is somebody else mucked this up, not us.
And Ms. Shelley Rash.
Hi, I think the idea of the park is a great idea. Now it's been held up because of the tank under the sidewalk. So even though you don't want to admit they are connected, I just think, I guess, if the grants are all gone, it may be something we need to look at in regards to municipal, provincial, federal grants. If there's anything we can get that will keep the cost at bay for us, the taxpayers, moving forward, I think it'll be great once it all gets fixed up and we can use it for community events and just have a positive place for us all to go and spend time with our families.
Thank you. And Mr. Gilbert.
Yeah, hi. So I guess there's always been a point of contention, especially on Facebook, which most of our audience is going to be tonight, as to who knew what when. So I went out of my way to print out my emails from August 17th, whereby Rod Raymond emailed me and the entirety of council stating, when replacing the sidewalk in front of the park, an abandoned gas tank was uncovered. It is despicable that previous council repaired other sections and left that piece. We are obligated to deal with it as per Alberta environmental regulations. There was never any indication it was in the park because it wasn't, because it was in the sidewalk, which was intentionally covered over. That being said, we have increased our reserves 30% to deal with these sorts of
time. Thank you.
We don't create a finance.
So we'll move on. Our candidates have moved through these real questions very quickly, and we have an opportunity to do the last question. So I am very grateful to all of you for keeping to your times. Our final question is, aging surface and subsurface infrastructure are clearly major challenges in town. How would you address these needed expenditures in a way that is fair, efficient, and cost effective? Our first speaker will be Mr. Rafa.
Hi, thank you. As far as infrastructure, basically, we'd have to have a look at the books. We'd have to work together. I don't know enough about it to actually know what we could do at this point in time in regards to an infrastructure. Based on priorities, if it is a priority, then we'd have to get, like was mentioned earlier, water to everybody in Thorsby, and I think that should be a priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Mr. Barry Rash.
Hi, everyone. There are technologies out there that will allow us not to necessarily rip up an entire road to replace infrastructure. And so things like liners can be put in, sleeves can be put in. That might be an option in some areas. That'll save a significant amount of money. I think engineering is always willing to work with tight budgets and find out new opportunities that is more acceptable and more financially easy to swallow for councils. So we just got to be engaged and be willing to look at all options on the table.
Our next speaker will be Ms. Rempel.
Well, we certainly have to set some priorities for infrastructure. Infrastructure is not only the roads, water, sewer, sidewalks, but also curbs as well. There's always a yearly capital replacement plan for infrastructure, but a clear list of priorities and guidelines must be in place and a detailed outline for all residents to see. We have 23 blocks of gravel roads and aging water and sewer lines. The council must make wise decisions and set priorities for the spending on upgrades.
Thank you. And Ms. Wershik is our next speaker.
Hi. I think we need to quit putting lipstick on areas to make it look good for certain people. We need to use our dollars wisely for the plumbing, which is the water and sewer, the sidewalks, and the streets. And then we can move on from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Mr. Hostin.
I know that a lot of the water lines are 11 years old. Some of them were scoped out. I know the town should have, they were camera scoped years ago. They should have a plan of all these things and need to be addressed accordingly. Some of them sooner than later.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Mr. Poffenroth.
Yes, we do have a 5 and 10-year plan that we're working our way through. This infrastructure underneath the ground has been neglected for many, many years, and it takes a lot of councils, not just ours, but a number more, to slowly work our way through them. We do have a plan, we're working on it, and we're doing the streets that need the most attention first. And when I say most attention, if you get water line breaks, 3 in a winter, and it costs $40,000 each time to patch them, then you better be doing that street.
Thank you. Next will be Mr. Gilbert.
So like Barb was implying that we don't need to put lipstick, and I agree. And that's why literally our first year on council, and as Councillor Poffenroth just agreed with me, we have actively insisted on a policy whereby we have cambered all sewers. We know where all sewer problems are, but then we overlaid that on a map of where water main breaks are. Water main breaks are what cost us money. We prioritize things based on the overall condition compared to the cost of repair of water main breaks. That's how we've prioritized, and we've set a policy whereby roads are redone, all infrastructure included. We could do lots of movement, but no infrastructure if we did so.
Our next speaker will be Mr. Rod Raymond.
You know, I agree with everybody here. The previous council worked a lot also on infrastructure. This council's worked a lot. We spent almost $2 million on subsurface and surface infrastructure in this term. The next council for the next 14 or 15 years are going to have to do the same thing, and we'll start all over again. It is a major problem. You know, it's running at about 45% of life. So we still have a lot to do. You know, everybody that hasn't had their street redone or the sewer redone, it has to be done. It's going to take probably 10 to 15 years to do it. And that's just the reality of this council, next council, the council after them.
Time, thank you. Mr. Foster.
I'm reminded of a meeting we had with the minister that was in the one buildings, and he said, what would it take to fix up things? And I stood up and I said, if you write me a check for $15 million right now, we could have this all done in no time at all. This is the reality is, folks, that we can't borrow any more money. And what we're going to do is through MSI grants and whatever other monies we can look at, but we can't raise the taxes. We're not going to do anything more. So that's exactly where we are planning.
Time, thank you. Mr. Kinswater.
I think this is going to be a great challenge for the next council. As one of the people that live on the gravel roads for the last 16 years, I find it disappointing that I hear that it's going to be another 15 years before my road is going to be paved. I have been told by previous council and this council when I had my sewers redone that there was nothing wrong with the water main or the sewers on my street, yet they don't get paved. I think that some priorities need to be set on which roads are actually being paved. And if water mains are the problem, let's fix them all first before we put brand new roads on. We've already got your roads now.
Ms. Halliday.
That's a sour spot. The infrastructure is just terrible. I live in the old side of Thorsby and where the trailer park used to be. Our roads are terrible. Our water is terrible because of the old pipes. I drive on a gravel road every day. My kids can't even drive their bicycle because of the gravel road. It needs to be repaired. It needs to be fixed. We shouldn't have gravel roads in this time and age.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Yes, the pipes are 60+ years old. It does need to be redone. It's going to be a big project. It's going to be a 5-10-year project like everyone's talked about. But we have to start off at the facility itself. If we don't start off there, we're just going to rip the ground up, put new infrastructure in for it to not last as long when that water between there gets to there. It needs to be done properly from the source and work out. We can't just do band-aids here, band-aids there to fix the roads. Obviously, there are some that need to be addressed if we're having breakages and leakages. Obviously, those need to be addressed, but
Time. Thank you. Mr. Nathan Raymond.
As everybody said, there's $15 million worth of work to be done, including everything. It's going to take years. We have no money to borrow. Our grant funding is decreased from the province. It's going to take some begging, I think, in order to do it over the years with the federal and provincial governments, maybe even provincial intervention in order to get it to the point that it needs to be. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Ms. Shelley Rash.
I think there's a couple issues here in regard to infrastructure. There is the lines, which we know are old and crumbling. We have our roads, which Carol had said there's 26 blocks of gravel road. And one of the problems with that gravel road, as I was door knocking, is that these areas have no drainage and constant flooding. So I mean, I don't know, we have to reevaluate priorities, relook at our 5-10-year plans, try to stick to them, and do patches on the good areas and try to work more on the inferior areas because we have a lot of work.
Ms. Watson, last but not least.
Last but not least, infrastructure, the bane of every community in Alberta. It's going to take years and years and years to fix it in town. The water lines, my grandmother lived in this town on the other side of the tracks. It's been there and nothing's been done or fixed in years. So it's something this council's done, previous council's done, and the next council will work on, and the next council. That's it.
Thank you. And thank all of you for your engagement in those hard-hitting questions from the voters of Thorsby. I wasn't sure we were going to get to that last question, so I'm really glad that we did. You will now have an opportunity to present your closing statements, and again in a randomized order. You'll be able to let the citizens of Thorsby know why you deserve their vote. So our first speaker for the closing remarks will be Mr. Rod Raymond. And you do have a minute.
Oh wow. I guess there's a couple of things. I guess council functions as one of 5, and you have to work with administration, and you have to have at least a decent financial person as your administrator. It's extremely difficult to get anything done if you don't have decent administration. We need to continue with the water complex, the whole complex, to get it done. We need to continue with the 5-year plan, just like previous council and just like the next council. We need to continue with the recreation center. And yes, it was built by volunteers. It's been poorly managed. It has to be changed. It has to be looked at and run again. We do collaborate on a regional basis. We need to bring economic development, which is what that collaboration brings, and tourism. The campground needs to be redone. I will continue to mentor the former CFO to help her learn to be a CAO. It's time consuming. She does have the intelligence. She does have the ability. She will grow. We need to continue to actually manage within our means. We cannot be the highest or second highest tax jurisdiction in the province anymore and expect to attract anything.
And that's time. Thank you very much. And our next speaker, as we mentioned before, was unable to attend. So we do have a pre-recorded message from Ms. Musson. Just give me 2 seconds to get it up and loaded. There we go. Can I get a nod from someone if they can see this on their screen? I see Shelley nodding. Perfect.
I went door-to-door campaigning and spoke to many residents. I expressed that I would do my best to be your voice and advocate. This is what some residents had to say. Water bills, taxes, and $25 dump fee cards are too high. Arctic Spa employee traffic is cruising too fast from one end of the town to the other. During monitored crosswalk hours, the monitors need to allow more traffic through as the wait time is too long. We need a dog park. We have sewer issues, Taylor Park issues. Council members should be not permitted to be away 6 months of the year. We need the complex to be open. Increased auction market traffic potentially damaging our roads. We need more businesses. Railway green space area needs maintenance. The roads need repair. We need sidewalks. We need organic waste bins. And we want to have chickens in our yard. When elected, I will do my best to have these issues addressed. Thank you in advance for your vote of confidence.
Next up, we have Mr. Kinswater.
In closing, I just wanted to say I wanted to run for council because I felt it was time to bring some new ideas to an old problem to the town. As a former graduate here and a resident for a homeowner for 16 years, I'm disappointed in the apparent lack of progress in infrastructure and business development in Thorsby compared to our neighboring areas. I would like to focus on a basic economic plan based on population density. On a personal note, I want to thank all of the volunteers that set this event up. I am very grateful. I would also like to thank the past council for their years of service and thank all the candidates for making this election to be remembered. With a large amount of people that have come forward, it gives me great pride and gratitude that we all care about this town so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Poffenroth.
Yes, I've lived in Thorsby for 11 years. I own 2 homes here, so I've got some skin in the game here. I feel the pain. I've been heavily involved with our senior center, volunteering for several projects. I was the one that raised the majority of the funds to build the new building. I wrote and received grants from all forms of government, federal, provincial, and county. I chaired the building committee and gave out the various contracts to our local suppliers, and I made sure the local suppliers got them. I raised the fund for their greenhouse large storage building. I helped to move the large storage building to a more stable foundation. Through the grants received, we bought new fridge, stove, dishwasher, etc. for the senior center. This year, I was instrumental in raising $6,000 for paving their seniors parking lot. I volunteer actively for our town seniors, and they are a local society that is profitable. How about that? In these times, I am still on their board of directors. I need everybody's vote. And by the way, I have had years of experience starting, running, and managing companies through the oil patch ups and downs. So I have the experience. I need your vote.
Thank you. Mr. Miller.
There we go. I'm gonna keep it short and simple. I'm a young person who wants to do better for the community. Everyone was new at one point when they ran for council, got elected. But if the younger generation doesn't step up to maintain and help continue building what's been built, it's going to die off. What we should be doing is looking forward to pushing for younger people to be more involved in the community, wanting to make a difference, and get more people out there for the younger people. Sorry about that. I have a new perspective to bring, potential ideas as well. And I look forward to being a candidate / counselor of this town. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Halliday.
I will work hard for the citizens of Thorsby and listen to what they have to say. I will be your voice. This town is amazing. We have many opportunities here. My main goal is getting that rec center back up and running as good or even better than it was before. I can't make any promises, but what I can do is make sure I will work as hard as I can for this community. I feel that fresh faces and a younger generation on council will help move Thorsby into an even better town. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Foster.
Again, unmute. Thank you for previous voters who have placed their trust in me in 2017. I hope you can still see your way to showing me your trust in the new council. I'm only one of 5 candidates with immediate experience and knowledge capable of completing the work that still has to be done. Elect me on day one of the new council members. There will be no learning curve to overcome, and take it from me, there will be for anyone new, and it will mean boots on, good to go.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rafa.
Hi, thank you. Well, all I can say is that I'll do the best that I possibly can to make this town worthy of its status. It should be better than it is now. I've heard stories about how prosperous it used to be. It was a bustling town is one term that I've heard as well.
Yeah.
And I think it does start from everybody. I mean, I was going to say we starts from the top, but management, council, we're just one of the people. And that's the way I see it. I don't intend to be a politician. I tend to be one of the people just trying to do the best that I can for this community. It is a wonderful community. And I'm grateful to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Gilbert.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to watch and learn more about the candidates in this rather contentious election. Thorsby's community has lots of potential, but just as you heard, there's lots of challenges and different perspectives on how to best address those challenges. But we need actual plans that can deliver results instead of wishful thinking. Numbers don't lie, and as anyone who's ever been on a town council will attest, at the end of the day, numbers are what need to drive decisions if we remain sustainable or experience any real growth. Often it's easy to allow emotions and nostalgia to guide decisions, but what the town of Thorsby needs most is reasoned and fact-based decisions to address the realities of today. In the past 4 years, I've made every effort to stay grounded in the realities and facts of every decision that we have discussed. If reelected, I plan to spend another 4 years doing the same, making decisions based on merit of argument instead of emotion or opinion or who is friends with who or related to who. Some others feel this detracts from the community spirit as they see it, but in order for us to remain a community, instead of becoming part of the county, we need to evolve and improve so that Thorsby can remain sustainable and independent. Finally, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce Committee, which took the initiative to organize this event.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Ms. Watson.
I'd like to thank everybody who was involved, the chamber, the candidates, the mayors, everything that we have been doing for the last month. But after years of working at the rec center, I have become disappointed in the direction our town is going. The only thing I can promise you is that I will work hard at providing a voice of reason for all things that matter to the people of Thorsby. It is your ideas, thoughts that matter. Fiscal responsibility is important to all taxpayers. Communication and transparency being of the utmost importance. Please vote for Audrey Watson, a voice of reason.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley Rash.
I truly believe we need change. I believe that Thorsby will greatly benefit if I am part of that change. Running our town like a business, cutting expenses that currently are thought of as unnecessary and unimportant is not the way to keep us happy, healthy, and keep our town thriving. We need to have that recreation center busy as it is the heart of our community. We need FCSS to help every single one of us if we were to ever to fall into hard times or need help. I've put myself out there for all of you. I've been door knocking, asking and answering questions, giving my opinions on matters, being engaged, and letting you see who I am and what I stand for. I'm doing this for the right reasons. I want what is best for our community, our seniors, our businesses, our kids, our families, all of us. My promise to you is that I am intelligent, I'm a quick learner, I'm engaged, honest, respectful, and transparent. I ask for your support on Monday, October 18th. Thank you all for taking the time to listen. Thank you, organizers of this event. This took a lot of work in a short time to pull together. I am grateful for that and for allowing you to have the residents hear me and see what I represent. Thank you.
Mr. Hostin.
All right, thank you. I've always been proud of Thorsby. It's no coincidence that most of the questions asked tonight are items that I have concerns along with, and also most of the residents. If elected mayor of Thorsby, I will work towards solving these issues as follows. Establish good communications with the County of Leduc and other neighboring municipalities, including the summer villages at Pigeon Lake. Listen and address to the concerns of all residents and business owners prior to taking actions, not afterwards. Work towards making bulk water sales more accessible. Work towards finding new customers for Thorsby's water. By achieving the above goals, reduce the monthly water billing cost of residents. Revitalize the usage of the Arctic Spas Recreation Center. make the town office more user-friendly by answering all phones and open all day, address the 23 blocks of streets and avenues that do not have pavement, gutters, or sidewalks before paving any other areas,
And that's
work with administration to ensure that all available grants are applied for, which
Ms. Rempel.
My goal is to be fiscally responsible and create partnerships for support and cooperation. I would revisit a growth strategy, review bylaws and policies, upgrade our aging infrastructure, encourage the development of both industrial parks and water treatment plant, work with our local businesses and volunteers to encourage local projects, putting the interests and the concerns of the community first, and be friendly, sincere, and positive in doing so. The mayor calls for dedication and leadership skills to serve the community without favor or discrimination. Putting the interests of the community first, taking a positive collaborative approach will benefit everybody. We want a sense of community pride and our community spirit back. Your vote counts. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nathan Raymond.
Unmute myself. Fine. I'll unmute myself. All right. Thanks for the opportunity tonight, guys, to be involved in this evening. I hope that with all the things considered and any answers that everyone received, that you would at least give me the opportunity to represent you as an elected official once again. Know that I've always been there for you. I've always been available. I truly enjoyed all our interactions over the years. I love the kids in this town. I vowed to do something for them. No matter what, I will still be very involved in Thorsby and keep working for you. We were handed a few challenges this term and we're well on our way. There's still a lot to do that we couldn't complete. I know the pandemic had a lot to do with that, but the fact is, I get things done and I'm not done yet. On Monday, I'm asking for your vote. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Barry Rash.
In closing, we have an amazing community that is worth fighting for. Isn't that why we are all here? This platform gives us a great opportunity to talk about the issues, share ideas, so that we can move forward on. The challenges of yesterday and today will not go away. We must continue to work diligently while remaining positive and supporting each other. Do we have division? Absolutely. Is it impossible to solve? Never. I support a council that will work hard to uncover the issues and report back to the residents with good, positive communication. We are all invested as residents and businesses, which is why I want to see us get back to the building our community's future together. Vote Barry Rosh, October 18th. Thank you and good night, everyone.
And Ms. Wershik.
Thank you much, ladies, for putting this all together so we have a voice to speak. I want the people and the citizens of our community to be treated with dignity and respect and have a voice. And I can carry that voice through into council. For those that can't go to council meetings for whatever reason, not all of us are tech savvy. We need things that are really important that need to be addressed other than our degrees and on and on and on. We don't need to keep patting ourselves on the back to be a good people and do what's right for our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we close this evening, I have some final thank yous. First of all, thank you to the Thorsby and District Chamber of Commerce for hosting this forum. We appreciate being able to live stream the event through their Facebook page, and we'll be posting a recording there later for future viewing. To the candidates, thank you for your participation and cooperation this evening. We realize that this medium is not ideal and would have much preferred to be in person. I personally appreciate your commitment to stand for public office and your flexibility in helping to keep the residents of Thorsby safe during these uncertain times. Good luck on Monday. To the planning team, Darlene and Michelle, thank you so very much for all of your hard work in pulling this event together on very short notice. Your commitment to this community is awe-inspiring. Finally, to the voters of Thorsby, Thank you for watching, and I hope you have learned much to help you in your choice on Election Day. Please remember to check the Target for additional candidate perspectives and the Target special online election supplement for extended answers. Additionally, reach out to the candidates if we were unable to get to your question this evening, or what you have heard has raised additional questions for you. The candidates themselves are the best source of information on their vision for the town of Thorsby. Most importantly, please remember to vote on Monday, October 18th. Thank you for your time, and it has been a pleasure to moderate for you this evening. Have a great night.